Two stories about cheating today for you guys, my dear sorry what listeners. Let's start with the first one. My wife cheated on me with a guy named Chad from her office. I found out when she forgot to log out of her Facebook Messenger on the laptop and I saw a message from Chad. Instead of reacting immediately, I decided to keep my cool and think things through. I didn't want to regret my actions later, like my brother did when he went through a similar situation. He wished he had been more methodical and done something big to bring it all down. I didn't want to feel that way, so I decided to get my anger out in a way that would hurt both my wife and Chad. I wanted revenge that would be absolutely devastating. After a few days of plotting, I realized that the best course of action would be to invite Chad's wife, Sarah, on a surprise double date. I messaged Sarah on Facebook and asked if we could talk over the phone. I figured she would want to know about her husband's infidelity and maybe she could help me put an end to the affair. To my surprise, she agreed to meet with us. Sarah was incredibly cool and collected about the whole thing. Instead of freaking out or getting upset, she actually wanted to get revenge too. Then, she came up with a devious plan that would ensure both of our cheating partners would get a taste of their own medicine. Sarah suggested that we go out on a date when we knew Jane and Chad would be sneaking around together. We would make sure they saw us cheating on them too. This would really mess with their heads and also provide some fantastic nuclear revenge. I have to admit, I was hesitant at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I loved the idea. We talked often for a few days as we both started looking for signs and potential times when they would be getting together. We finally figured out that Jane and Chad would be meeting up at the swanky bar on Friday night on the other end of the city. Friday came and Jane said she was just going to be going out to eat with one of her friends and then they were going to go shopping for a bit. I played along, heart thumping in my chest, knowing what was up my sleeve. Chad told Sarah that he and the guys were going to go axe throwing or something, but we knew where they were really going. So, Sarah and I decided that we would go on our date and then accidentally bump into them there just to see the looks on their faces. We even agreed to dress up and look amazing. On a side note, Sarah actually did look amazing. That didn't hurt a thing. When my wife was leaving, I acted completely normal. When she was officially in her car and driving away, I went into quick action and got ready for mine and Sarah's big night on the town. I picked up Sarah and we began to drive, talking excitedly about how this was going to go. We both also felt waves of excitement and nervousness. Sadness and frustration overwhelmed me, but the adrenaline kept us going on our path to revenge. When we arrived at the bar, we spotted Jane and Chad in a cozy corner, laughing, smiling, and flirting with each other. My heart raced as Sarah and I walked over to a table just far enough away to not be immediately noticed, but definitely viewable from their location. We held hands and pretended that all was well and normal. We ordered some drinks and an appetizer, each one of us peeking over until finally, they noticed us. The moment they saw us was absolutely priceless. Their eyes went wide and they looked like they had just seen a ghost. I could practically see the cogs turning in their heads as they tried to process what was happening. Sarah quickly said, "They see us. You should kiss me." For a split second, I couldn't even imagine doing that, but then a moment later, I gave in and gave Sarah a nice long passionate kiss, fueled by our mutual anger. I rubbed my eyes and peeked through my hands and could see them all in a tizzy, a mix of emotions they must have been feeling. Furious, exposed, confused, the list could go on and on. Finally, after about 15 minutes of our laughter and flirting, Chad mustered up the courage to come over and confront us. He stammered something about it being a huge coincidence that we were both there and demanded to know what was going on. I played it cool, acting like it was no big deal. "Oh hey, Chad," I said, as if we were old friends. "What a surprise to see you here. Sarah and I just decided to grab a drink for the hell of it. You remember Sarah, don't you? She's your wife." Chad's face went beet red and he started to stutter even more. Jane, who had been watching the whole interaction from their table, looked horrified and like she was about to cry. Before he could say anything else, Sarah chimed in, "Oh come on, Chad. It's not like we're doing anything wrong. We're just two people having a good time, just like you and Jane." The look on their faces was absolutely priceless. They were both caught red-handed and they knew it. Kindly remind you to subscribe my channel. Chad clearly had a loss for words, mumbled some excuse about needing to use the restroom, and then quickly disappeared. Jane, on the other hand, couldn't take it anymore. She stood up from her seat, tears streaming down her face, and stormed out of the bar. It was clear that she never expected to be on the receiving end of her own deceit. With our mission accomplished, Sarah and I shared a high five and a knowing glance. The satisfaction of knowing that we had successfully turned the tables on our cheating spouses was indescribable. We stayed at the bar for a while longer, finishing our drinks and getting to know each other better. Despite the circumstances that had brought us together, we realized that we actually had a lot in common and enjoyed each other's company. As the night went on, Sarah and I exchanged stories about our marriages, how we had tried to make things work, and how we had each been let down by our partners. It was therapeutic to be able to share my pain with someone who understood it so deeply. When it was time to leave, I took her home, and we both promised to keep in touch. We knew that there were going to be some difficult conversations and decisions ahead of us, but at least we had each other for support. Over the next few weeks, both of our marriages crumbled. Jane and Chad were both extremely remorseful, but it was too little too late. Sarah and I supported each other through the process of filing for divorce and dealing with the emotional fallout that followed. In the end, our little revenge plot did more than just teach our cheating spouses a lesson. It brought two people together who were dealing with immense heartache, and it gave us the strength to move on from the past. Now, I'm not saying that Sarah and I are a couple or anything. It's way too early for that, but we have become really good friends, and who knows what the future might hold. But in the end, it doesn't matter if that goes any further. We have helped each other a lot during this time, and that in and of itself has been great. So there you have it, my story of nuclear revenge on my cheating wife and her stupid affair partner. Well executed. Story 2. Subscribe my channel for more stories. My new wife cheated on me during our honeymoon, so I ghosted her and took all our stuff with me. Guys, I need to share this story with you all because it's been the craziest and most surreal experience of my life. My heart is still racing, and I'm not sure if I'll ever fully recover, but here goes. My wife Emma and I had just gotten married, and we were spending our honeymoon in paradise. We chose a beautiful beach resort to celebrate our love and relax after months of stressful wedding planning. The first day went great. We were enjoying the sun, the sand, each other's company, and all the other things that you'd enjoy on a honeymoon. However, I started noticing something odd on the second day. We were at the beach when Emma suddenly decided she needed to go back to the room to use the bathroom and grab more drinks. No big deal, except that she was gone for almost an hour. I didn't think much of it at first, but when it happened again on day 3, I couldn't help but feel suspicious. So on the 4th day, when Emma once again announced that she needed to head back to the room, I decided to follow her. I told her I'd stay at the beach, but as soon as she was out of sight, I got up and trailed her from a safe distance. When she got near the pool at the resort, I noticed a man sitting there who waved to her. Then immediately, he got up and made his way to her. She smiled and waved back and waited for him to find himself at her side before continuing to walk. I kept on following her and then watched them both get into the elevator. The stairs were right next to the elevator, and the resort only had 3 floors, so I bolted up to floor 2 and peeked out the door. That's when I saw her entering a different room with the guy. I had seen him hanging around the beach. He was this muscular suntan guy who'd been giving her lingering looks, but I never thought she'd be interested. My heart sank. The door closed behind him, and I was left standing there in disbelief. I mean, I'm a good-looking guy too, with a nice build and plenty of money, so what the hell did this guy have that I didn't? I was beyond devastated, but I knew I had to act quickly. The last thing I wanted was a public confrontation, so in my intense anger, I went back to our room, packed up our luggage, and made the decision to ghost her entirely. I snatched both room keys and left her with nothing but her swimsuit she was wearing when she entered his room and her ID, which I left at the front desk when I checked out. I told them that this woman would probably come here asking about her room key and that she would need this. I know that was an ass move, but seriously, I wanted to make it as difficult for her to get back home as possible. Plus, I needed time to get back and get my things before she could figure out what the hell happened and then catch up with me. As I made my way to the parking lot, my hands were shaking and my emotions were all over the place, but I was resolute in my decision. I got into our car and started the 5.5-hour drive back home, leaving her behind to face the consequences of her actions. A few days later, after I moved out of our apartment, Emma's mother called me and I answered. She began to berate me about everything that I did and to tell me what her daughter had to go through just to get back home. Here's how it went. Apparently, Emma was in full-on panic mode when she realized I was gone. She frantically tried to get back into our room only to find that she was locked out. She had no clothes, no money, and no way to contact me. Yes, I even took her cell phone. After trying in vain to reach me from the hotel lobby phone and begging the hotel staff to let her into the room, they finally let her in only to find that I had taken everything. At this point, she had no choice but to call her parents and explain the situation. After asking her 100 times what could have caused me to be such a jerk to her and to ghost her like that, she finally had to admit that she had cheated with a guy at the hotel and that I must have somehow found out. Her parents, of course, were furious, but they wired her money so she could buy some clothes and rent a car to drive back home. I can only imagine the embarrassment she must have felt as she made that call. At the time, I couldn't care less. As a matter of fact, I still don't care. It took hours for all of this to transpire. I just wish I could have seen the look on her face as she started her suffering. Emma's reveal didn't end there. Apparently, the rental car she got turned out to have a faulty gas gauge, and it showed she had more fuel than she actually did, so she ran out of gas in the middle of nowhere. Stranded on the side of the road, still reeling from the shock of everything that had happened, she had to call for roadside assistance and wait for an hour for them to arrive and fill her tank. It must have been a humbling experience for her, and I can't help but think that maybe in some way she got what she deserved. Imagine 1 second being on your honeymoon, sitting on the beach, eating delicious food, escaping every care in the world, and just hours later, you're stranded on the side of the road, hungry and abandoned. Yeah, she deserved that. Anyway, I reached our apartment way before she did. My buddy met me there to help me, and I had plenty of time to pack my belongings and move out. Though I did so in record time, I didn't even leave her a note. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of a face-to-face confrontation. Either she didn't deserve that. By the time she got back to our apartment, I was long gone. My phone was blowing up with missed calls and texts from her, but I didn't bother to respond. Her betrayal had cut me too deep, and I couldn't bear to hear her voice or see her name on my screen, so I changed my phone number and deleted her contact info from my phone. I also unfriended her and blocked her on Messenger. I left no direct path for her to get to me. In the days that followed, I received messages from her friends and family through Facebook. Some berated me for my actions, others sympathized with me and offered their support. I didn't even respond to any of them. It was a whirlwind of emotions, but I knew deep down that I had made the right choice. My trust in Emma was shattered, and there was no coming back from that. A few weeks after the incident, I finally received a long letter from Emma. She sent it to my parents' house. It was filled with apologies and explanations for her actions. She tried to justify her behavior, claiming it was a momentary lapse in judgment and that she still loved me. While I could see the pain in her words, it didn't change the fact that she had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I didn't respond to the letter, and I haven't spoken to her since. So that's it, that's my story. Well, he didn't give an inch there, did he? Why would she cheat on him literally a few days into their marriage? Did he take his revenge too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell.